I never said it was the victim! I never once said it was the victim! I'm sick and tired of being called a rapist! I'm tired of it all!
I'm sure many of you have already seen the now infamous freakout of Bashurverse. While it's hard to deny on a surface level how much of a spectacle it is to see a man fall apart on camera even half a decade later, most don't have much more than a surface level understanding of what caused that explosion, and the bizarre events that followed. This is a story of betrayal, exploitation, lies, sexual harassment, doxing, hackers, and death threats, with the man in the center of it all who was completely unequipped emotionally to handle the pressure. Even all these years later, it's hard to understand the context of that video, but after hundreds of hours of research, today I will try my best. This is the Bashurverse Conspiracy.
Wow, what a great day to be picking flowers! Oh, speaking of, you're mine, little buddy. Let's see if we can't find any of your family members. Oh man, I just can't get enough picking flowers. They said that I'd be a great flower picker when I grew up.
The year is 2015, an era in which easily excited Minecraft Let's Players reign supreme on YouTube, while drama channels begin to make their way to the center of the internet landscape. Among the rising stars of the Minecrafter genre was a man by the name of Brandon Asher, or as he was known by his fans, Bashurverse. A lover of video games from a young age, Brandon found success online with a series titled The Legend of Hobo. This was a scripted show that took place entirely in Minecraft, making it very popular with kids and quickly racking up millions of views. This caught the eye of other famous Minecraft YouTubers at the time, such as Skydoes Minecraft and Captain Sparkles, who wanted to play with him. In the blink of an eye, he went from a random guy playing games in his room to hanging out with some of the most popular stars on the World Wide Web. As if things couldn't get any better for Brandon, he also met a fan on his Twitter by the name of Clara Swan, known online as Clara Babylegs. The two quickly hit it off and began dating, with Basher even flying Clara out from her state of Tennessee to live with him in his Seattle home, as it became clear this relationship had become more than just a passing fling. Whether intentional or not, these two were quickly becoming a power couple in the online world, as her follower numbers began to grow. With their continued success, Brandon and Clara moved to California to join a YouTube house called BAM Lounge, a collaborative project involving several creators such as Birdgasm, Aviator Gaming, and Jobless Garrett, living in one big house making comedy videos. The type of content on this channel usually ranged from pranks, vlogs, and sketches, with the personalities involved becoming so popular that they were even in talks behind the scenes about starting a full-fledged BAM Lounge reality show on traditional television. With a loving girlfriend, supportive roommates, successful business associates, and a growing fan base, Basher was on the top of the world, and it seemed like nothing could bring him down. Unfortunately, a storm was on the horizon, the likes of which had never been seen in the history of YouTube. Daniel Keem, otherwise known as DJ Killer Keemstar, has always been a polarizing figure on YouTube, racking up a total of 5 channels that have been terminated over his time on the site. He rose to prominence trolling players on Xbox Live in the mid-2000s, before finally settling down with his show Drama Alert, where he reports on various mistakes, feuds, or mere interactions of internet celebrities. Keem has certainly made his fair share of enemies over the years due to his abrasive personality, yet that's why people tune in. Back in 2015, he could be particularly ruthless, and when he received an anonymous tip about Brandon Asher, his sights became laser-focused on the growing Let's Player. This all began when the Drama Alert team received a message from an anonymous source, accusing Basher of committing some heinous crimes in the early 2000s that came up during a background check done on Brandon when he joined the BAM Lounge. Jumping on the rumor, Keem quickly reached out to Brandon for comment. He denied everything, which stopped the allegations from going public at first, but after it became clear that these claims weren't going anywhere, he decided to make a video of his own to get out in front of the story. As his story goes, Brandon was born to an absent father and emotionally abusive mother who didn't have much of an interest in raising him, leaving Brandon home alone many times when he was just still a baby. He claimed not to remember much of his abuse though, because at a very young age a foster couple gained custody. After that, the quality of his life picked up significantly as he was now being raised in a loving and caring environment. The fondness with which he told these stories about his adoptive parents made his childhood seem pretty ideal. The trouble started when he entered high school. Brandon stated that throughout elementary and middle school, he was a fairly average student, passing by with a decent enough grade. But in high school, he suddenly lost all motivation to keep trying. His grades began to plummet, and as a result, he was placed in what he called an educational development center.
This is a school that the undesirables got pushed to. People they didn't want in the school, and they just sit us in there and make us do crossword puzzles all day. This is high school.
Brandon also claimed to have been a constant target of bullying from his fellow students. All this changed though when he met a girl when he was 17, and quickly fell head over heels in love with her. After being alone for so long, it's clear that finding happiness with a woman meant a great deal to him emotionally. It's no wonder then that he was absolutely crushed when he learned that she had cheated on him.
My whole world got turned upside down. It was literally the worst thing I've ever experienced up to that point.
Around this point, he also began talking to the younger sister of one of his friends, who he claims was around 14 years old at the time. He claimed that she served as a shoulder to cry on.
She actually talked to me a lot about it and consoled me. We started talking online and we had feelings for each other, and her parents had started kind of getting like the vibe that we had a thing going on. We would get pretty intimate. But one day when I woke up, there was a knock on my door, and there was a guy, and he introduced himself as a private investigator. They ended up arresting me, and they put me in jail.
When he finally had his day in court, he was charged with a Class A misdemeanor for an unlawful transaction with a minor. As punishment, he would attend court-mandated therapy and would be stripped of all his computers.
And my lawyer was like, "You were so freaking lucky because you could have gone to prison and stuff like that." I'm like, for that? What the? Why? Like, it's insane how apparently lucky I was that they didn't just send me to prison.
Perhaps out of some feeling of shame or embarrassment, Brandon and his family ended up moving to a different state after the sentencing.
And for years and years and years, I just sat there doing nothing but wasting away, and I felt like I was going crazy. I'd wake up, I'd go into my computer room, I'd sit down, I'd load up Star Wars Galaxies or World of Warcraft, and I'd just play until I felt like I was going to pass out.
At a certain point, Bashur decided to pick himself up and try to branch out with his life, which is when he began making his Legend of Hobo videos and his career began taking off. Brandon ended his video talking about how he feared the rumors around the story would ruin his career, and he wanted to tell his truth to the world. His fans all rallied behind him after this, supporting him due to the apparent rawness of his confession, but not everyone was so swayed by his tale. A few hours after Bashur posted this video, Keemstar uploaded a response titled, "Opinion on the Bashur Situation." Keem expressed his frustration with the amount of support Brandon was receiving for his confession, feeling that the video came across as very manipulative. He cited Bashur's constant shaking and crying throughout the story, as well as recounting his whole tragic life story as his reason for it coming across as insincere. Keem's biggest gripe was that the video seemed to be spinning a narrative that Bashur was a victim, whereas he thought it would have been better if he made a simple, flat-out apology. Keem, along with thousands of others, believed that Brandon wasn't being 100% truthful about the details throughout his confession either. In his statements, there were some glaring contradictions, such as why in the original rumor he was said to have raped a 13-year-old girl twice, but in this story the girl was around 14 or 15, and they merely talked in a sexual manner on the computer. On top of that, Bashur released an article from his local newspaper which listed him as 20 years of age when he was sentenced, which didn't make sense when compared to his earlier statement that he was 18 at the time. To make matters even more confusing, online records show that he was arrested at 19. Keemstar stated that his biggest concern in all of this was the average age of Bashur's fanbase. Due to his popularity in the Minecraft sphere, his fans tended to be either children or preteens. Keem felt that Brandon, Brandon, given his alleged history, may try to leverage his young audience into potentially dangerous situations. At this point, Keem also brought up the eyebrow-raising point that Bashur's girlfriend Clara was only 17 years of age at the time they met, whereas he was in his late 20s. Had he not learned anything from talking to underage girls, many wondered? At this point, when anyone would question his official story not adding up or joked about the rumors, Bashur's oversensitivity was made clear, as he would often have breakdowns at the slightest mention of his name in a negative light. Keemstar noted this and would seemingly prod Brandon for a response on both Twitter and Drama Alert. During his annual April Fool's video, Keem made a joke at Bashur's expense, in which he photoshopped a fake tweet to make it look like he was confessing to the allegations. Brandon did not take this very well, going on an angry rant about it on Twitter and reaching out to his network Machinima to try to get the video taken down. On another occasion, Bashur posted a tweet about how he was going to Disney World soon, to which Keem responded by warning parents to keep their kids away from the park. Bashur again did not find this very comical, going as far as to publicly ask the police to get involved and arrest Keemstar. Keem made sure to mention that he was not the only target, as Brandon had reportedly threatened a lawsuit against any YouTuber who had previously known and talked about the rumor, such as his once good friend SkyDoesMinecraft. During this time, Bashur's mother had become the target of a severe amount of harassment, receiving constant texts and phone calls about the crimes her son was accused of. Tracing back the origin of how this all started, Bashur accused Keem of sending a tweet with her phone number. There was a screenshot allegedly proving that Keem retweeted the docs, but Keem claims that it is a fake and denies it ever happening. All these events were only samplings, though, of the now notorious freakout that was soon to come. The day after the Drama Alert video came out questioning Brandon's official narrative, a dogpiling of hate started to be sent his way. The once sympathetic comments quickly turned vitriolic as the math wasn't adding up on his explanations. This is when a once contained controversy in the Minecraft sphere went viral. Instead of explaining the contradicting information to help people better understand the situation, Bashur posted another video of his own, simply titled "Goodbye." In this video, it's clear that he has reached the end of his rope both mentally and emotionally.
I hate you all who are attacking me constantly! I just wanted to make a fucking YouTube channel! I just wanted that! I just wanted that so bad! I just wanted to make people happy and shit! I just wanted to leave! I just wanted to leave my room that I was in for years, and it finally did, and you won't leave me alone! Ah! I'm tired of it! I'm tired of it! So I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
Shortly after uploading, he removed the video and clarified on Twitter that he wouldn't actually be quitting the internet, but at that point the damage was already done. Some were sympathetic with Bashur's plight, but many more now saw him as the freakout guy, with re-uploads of this video gaining millions upon millions of views from across the world. Among those whose attention was caught by this video was none other than Keemstar himself, whose initial reaction to it was recorded on a live stream. From many angles, this can be seen as the true beginning of the feud between Bashurverse and Keem.
Entertain people! I just wanted that! I just wanted that so bad! I just wanted to make people happy and I just wanted to leave!
Dude, like, okay, like, people might say that I pushed him too far, but I didn't. I didn't. He's just, this is more playing the victim. This is more like manipulation. That's all I see is manipulation. Like, all I wanted, and all I think anybody wanted, was this dude to just own up to what happened and move on.
The very next day, Keem posted another video directed at Bashur, reaching out to him and asking for an interview with all proceeds going to charity. To our knowledge, this request seems to have either been ignored or denied by Bashur, but because the story was so big, that didn't stop Drama Alert from reaching out to people around him. On April 10th, Keem interviewed another YouTuber in the Minecraft space by the name of Ashley.
And when you and Bashur were having this conversation, which we're about to get into, ladies and gentlemen, Get your popcorn ready. How old were you at the time?
I was 17.
How old was Basher?
28.
28-year-old man, 17-year-old child. Guys, but right here, Basher says, yes, you are. I get turned on every time I see you. You're sexy as hell. Now, what is he talking about?
According to her, he also allegedly screenshotted every single selfie she posted to her Snapchat story, and sent her messages complimenting her appearance in them. Ashley provided screenshots of the chat logs, but the names were blacked out, so we can't say for certain if this was Basher. This was only the beginning of the new allegations though. At the same time, another YouTuber by the name of True Wind Waker uploaded a video on her own channel in which she made a similar accusation towards Basher. A few months prior to this controversy, Brandon had posted a public link to his Snapchat on Twitter. Being a fan of his, she quickly added him and sent him a selfie. He then reportedly screenshotted it and asked for more, which she also provided evidence of. Later, Wind Waker liked a tweet from Basher, prompting him to follow her and immediately start messaging her on Twitter, asking if she was the same girl who had sent him the selfie. Just like with Ashley, Basher's messages quickly became flirtatious, and he asked her if she would be willing to move their conversations to Skype.
All. And then I don't have I respond, but I'm sure I responded something like, really? Like, because I was confused. And he said, do you have Skype? We can text better there. And then at that point, I was kind of like, I mean, yeah, I thought it was really cool because he had, what do you have? I think he had 1 million subscribers then, and I really liked his videos. And I was like, whoa, this guy that I've been watching, like, I really appreciate his videos. He's funny, all this stuff, and he wants to talk to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, whoa. And then he proceeded to start kind of like getting more sexual conversation went on, like including weird things. And I was just kind of like, I didn't say anything.
She tried on multiple occasions to steer the conversation away from inappropriate subjects, but he would quickly steer it right back. After a while, he asked her age, to which she told him that she was 16. In response, Basher reportedly lied and said that he was only 21. Unfortunately, she no longer had the Skype messages, but she provided enough evidence that it was clear to most that she had spoken with Basher in some capacity.
So he started dating Clara Babylegs when she was a minor. We know that to be 100% true. And then also, he was flirting with underage girls online, and we know this because those girls came forward, and I interviewed them on Drama, and they had, you know, screenshots in proof of Basher doing this.
As the situation heated up and more people came out with stories of their own, Basher knew he had to do something drastic to try to quell the flames. About a week or so later, Basher appeared on a Drama Alert video for an interview. Keem's tone immediately seemed to have made a complete 180, stating that his team had looked into the situation further and that he now believed Basher's story.
Basically, the Drama Alert team did more research into what happened with Basher 11 years ago, and we can now confirm that the ages were 18 and 15, not 20 and 13. I wanted to get Basher on here first to apologize. You know, Drama Alert reports the truth, right? We've never reported that the victim was 13. All we've ever reported was that Sky Does Minecraft said the victim was 13, that The Zombie Unicorn said the victim was 13. And based on these people and their reputations, you know, my personal opinion was that you were lying. Now that we know that that's 100% truth, the first question I have for you is, how did this rumor start that the victim was 13?
Basher claimed that he had told the other YouTubers in the house his version of the story very early in his time with the group. But somewhere along the line, someone had changed it to him raping a 13-year-old girl. As Basher told it, the story went that in the wake of the controversy, his fellow BAM Lounge members encouraged him to go back with his girlfriend Clara to his family home in Kentucky to sort things out mentally. Brandon claimed that his mother had some sort of job in the legal profession and would be able to help them out. But once the couple arrived there, the members of BAM Lounge began texting Clara privately.
Melting my heart was like being destroyed. I started bawling. I started just like, what? Why are you leaving me? Why? Like, why don't you stay longer? What is making you leave me? And she would not look me in the eyes. She didn't shed a single tear. It was the most pathetic thing I've ever done. My mom was even there. She can attest to it, but I know she won't because she, no offense, she doesn't like you.
so she leaves, goes with her uncle. All right.
Yeah.
And then she flies all the way back to Seattle.
No, she flew to L.A. to be with the BAM guys again.
And she's still going to be on the project.
Yeah.
So your friends disown you, and then your girlfriend, who you love, and you thought that she loved you.
Oh God, I love her, dude.
Disowns you
no idea.
for her career.
In this version of events, Clara came across as almost sociopathic, emotionlessly dumping Basher as he cried and pleaded for her to stay. Team seemed determined to paint Clara as some sort of gold digger who was only using her boyfriend for views and money, but Basher was hesitant to agree as it was clear he still had feelings for her. Basher came across as the victim in this interview, a man who had lost everything over what he claimed to be a baseless rumor. Just like that, the focus was shifted away from him and onto his teenage girlfriend. In this interview, the subject of the girls who had come out to accuse him of flirting with them when they were underage was also addressed. Basher fully admitted to having spoken to them, but stated that he had since reached out and apologized and that he was now on good terms with both of them. However, he did claim that he had no idea that either of them were underage, which contradicted true Wind Waker's story that he knew she was 16. This discrepancy was not even mentioned in the interview. Nevertheless, Basher came away from it looking good in the eyes of most of the YouTube community, and he made a promise never to flirt with girls over the internet again. The next day, Clara responded to the accusations of being a gold digger in a video on her personal channel. Unfortunately, this video has been privated, which led me into a brand new rabbit hole of trying to find a re-upload of it. Using the Wayback Machine and a direct link to the video, I found out that the name of it was My Bashurverse Story, which I then searched for. The only result I was getting when looking up the title was a 12-second video that spliced together 10 seconds of her confession with a 2-second clip of the D's Nuts guy. Without any other leads, I tried to reach out to the uploader as it was clear he had downloaded the video back in the day and possibly still had it saved on a hard drive or the cloud, but when I went on his Twitter, it was suspended. I then took his internet handle to see if he was active on any other websites. This is when I found out this dude is actually an international hacker on the run from both the Guatemalan and Mexican government for stealing and leaking thousands of files. So to put it simply, the only person with a copy of this video is currently evading law enforcement. Becoming frustrated as I spent more time trying to find this video, I next simply searched for things like Clara Baby Legs and Clara Basher on YouTube so I can scroll through every single result to see if it exists under a different name. After going through hundreds if not thousands of results, I finally find another copy of the video. When I click on the elusive confession, I notice that it's quiet, so I try raising the volume, but as it rises to max, the realization slowly hits me that while this is in fact the video in question, it has no sound, making it useless. Finally, after all this, I found an article from back in the day giving a summary of what she said, so we'll just have to rely on that transcript for information. Clara claimed that the coverage of the story thus far had been heavily weighted against her, and had left out a lot of important details. According to her, she had stuck by Basher's side in times when his popularity was dipping and money was tight. On top of that, she talked about the frequent depressive episodes Basher had when they were together, and how she talked him out of multiple suicide attempts. Eventually, his mental state simply became too much for her to handle. Clara said that she and Basher were fighting constantly, and she no longer felt safe around him. It was clear to her that the relationship was on its last leg, so when BAM Lounge offered her a way out, she took it. At this point, the BAM Creator House just so happened to be doxxed in a very public way.
The guy that leaked the giant, like...
Oh, Smile for YouTube Gaming?
Yeah, they were talking... Basher and that Smile for YouTube were talking a lot, and then all of a sudden, Clara is staying at our house because she feels unsafe to live with Bashurverse. And then all of a sudden, our house address gets leaked on a giant website, and it was told that it was anonymous, and Keemstar tweeted it out. Keemstar said, I wonder if this is true or something like that. And it's a link to our house, and then not only that, and the only person that would know this is Bashurverse, so I know Bashurverse leaked it. Not only that, but there's pictures of each window, and in the window it gave a paragraph detail of who lived in there, how to get up there, and where do they stay at night.
This resulted in a Twitter confrontation between Brandon and Clara, which made it clear that his stance had not changed since his interview with Keemstar. He made sure to mention that he was still in love with her, and doubled down on the idea that he gave her everything, and she wouldn't be anywhere without him. It also came out during this interaction that Clara had apparently blocked him on Twitter, further muddying the waters of what was really going on behind the scenes. Around this same time, Basher uploaded a video entitled How to Be Alone, in which he walks around the empty Seattle home that he once shared with Clara.
I love her so much, and then this happened, and why did this happen? And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry, her hair.
On April 30th, a little over a week since the first interview, Basher appeared on Drama Alert once again to talk with his new friend Keemstar about fresh allegations that had begun to surface about Clara. Before they even began discussing this new information though, Basher made it clear that this was the first time hearing about any of it, and this is where things became interesting.
Here's Clara taking a picture in a room and somebody is on the bed. Do you see the circle there, the elbow?
Yeah.
Whose room?
That's Garrett's room. What the f?
So now, I know you haven't seen this.
Dude, that's straight up Garrett's room. That is Garrett's room.
The next image is coming from a vlog from Big Mac. And whose bed is Garrett on?
That's Clara's bed. That's where she's sleeping, apparently. That's where she was sleeping. What the f? That's the blanket that I bought for Clara. I bought that for Clara when we were together. Oh God, what the f?
The idea that Clara might be dating former friend Garrett was clearly distressing to Basher, especially since it was so soon after their breakup. He claimed that he had been trying to get in contact with her on a near daily basis since she dumped him, but had only gotten a response that day in the form of a text where she said she loved him and she never meant to hurt him. That was when Keem dropped the bombshell. Keem revealed that he had been collaborating in secret with a man by the name of Smile for YouTube, the owner of a Minecraft server who had worked with both Basher and Clara on multiple occasions. Smile stated that he had been messaging back and forth with Clara, offering to pay her just to speak with Brandon. Not only that, he played the audio of a Skype call he had with her earlier that day, around the same time she texted Basher. In this call, Smile offered to pay Clara $1,000 to text Brandon to calm him down during one of his emotional episodes, which she appears to have agreed to.
She seems really concerned because she just messaged me, "He already did the interview, too late, we are all f***ed."
What?
I just sent that in the chat right now so we can all see it.
Oh,
Play
bullshit.
the audio.
Here it is.
You have actual audio?
Here it is. Hey.
I know. Hey, what's up?
Say something to him. You have to talk to him nice or something like that, because he's bawling his eyes out. I'll give you $1,000 to bullshit your way through this. I'll give you $1,000 right now. Okay.
I left him a voice
Okay, if I give you $1,000 right now, will you at least be nice and kind to him and try to make him all happy right now before he goes under drama alert?
Yes. Yes,
okay.
I need.
Too late, we're all f***ed. Yeah, you're f***ed. You used me. Yes, you are f***ed. It's bullshit. You don't use people. This is fucking A. I'm not going through this pain every single night. Every single night I go through this pain. You know I have to drink NyQuil every single night in order to sleep because going upstairs to that bed is so fucking hard for me. And I see her making these tweets like everything's all fine and her on her freaking live streams like everything's all fucking fine. I don't fucking care anymore. You used me. You got caught. I don't care anymore. I don't care. At least in the end I got the f***er in the
When this video went up, it quickly became the hottest topic of the moment. It racked up millions of views, becoming one of Keemstar's best performing videos of all time, and launching him to a new level of popularity. Basher also became one of the biggest Twitter trends, with creators and viewers alike from all reaches of the online world chiming in on the clip of Keem's reaction to the revelation that Basher had sodomized Clara, becoming a meme overnight. And just like that, the opinion of the internet seemed to be overwhelmingly in Basher's favor, with most feeling that the evidence was now clear that Bam was trying to bring him down and that Clara had been using him all along. Not wanting to let a good thing go to waste, Keem began to milk the Bashurverse cash cow for all that it was worth. Bashur could hardly sneeze without Keem including him in a daily drama alert video. For example, Brandon once responded sympathetically to the death of a transgender video game developer, to which Keem asked the question if it meant that Bashur himself was actually trans. No matter how mundane, Drama Alert found a reason to report on it. On May 1st, the day after the interview, Jobless Garrett posted a video to his own channel in the hopes of quelling the rumors surrounding him. He completely denied the idea that he and Clara were sleeping together, citing Keemstar's admittedly poor evidence to back up his claims. However, Garrett's explanation of what was really going on was strange to say the least, and made many wonder what the deal was with the living arrangements in this house. According to him, with the way the BAM Lounge was structured, they simply didn't have enough space for everybody who was living there, so some rooms needed to serve double functions. When Clara moved back into the BAM house, Garrett's bedroom was split down the middle, half of it still belonging to him and the other half becoming Clara's office. That explained why she took the selfie in Garrett's bedroom, and why he was still asleep in the bed when the picture was taken. As to why he was sleeping in her bed, Garrett said that sometimes Clara would want to live stream in her office early in the morning when he wanted to sleep in. He obviously didn't want to be in the background of her streams, so he would instead go downstairs to sleep in Clara's bed in the living room. The video ended with Garrett stating that he had explained the whole thing to Bashur in person, and that the two had actually watched the interview together at Bashur's house. It even included a short clip at the end of Bashur and Garrett together, in which Bashur cleared the air and said he believed Garrett's story. Bashur seemed to be making amends with his former enemies, and soon he would reconnect with another. Merely 2 days after the interview, Clara went on Twitter to publicly announce that she had moved out of the BAM Lounge. This was strange given how much trouble she went through to live there in the first place. But that strangeness was nothing compared to the reveal of who she was living with now. Brandon Asher. Yes, the two took a selfie together and stated that she had moved back into his house in Seattle, and were talking through what had happened. This begins the next chapter in the Bashurverse saga. Bashur initially denied the rumors that he and Clara were dating again, but soon confirmed it in a video titled 18 Million Volts of Forgiveness, featuring Brandon and Clara tasing each other to make things between the two even.
Back in September, we had a miscarriage. Clara got pregnant, and it turned out to be an ectopic pregnancy, and she had a miscarriage, and we lost the baby. And that's something that we never really told anyone about. We told our close friends.
Something that needs to be talked about is the Skype conversation that I was recorded in on Drama Alert. I really regret that, and it was terrible and incredibly messed up, and the best thing right now that I can do is ask for forgiveness for it. So, I am going to be tased.
With 18 million volts of forgiveness.
Oh, Jesus!
At best, people were confused by this update. The breakneck narrative shift from Bashur being a manipulative pedo to Clara being a heartless gold digger to the new one of them being a couple again was jarring to say the least, and the tasing aspect only made it more perplexing. People began to turn on Bashur once again, with some claiming that he and Clara faked all of this drama just for attention. Upon asking those involved in the drama about this change to edgier content, it turns out that allegedly the people at the website Social Blade began to push Bashur to do more exploitative content, as they began to take a cut of his revenue. As the story goes, while this more edgy content was bad for Brandon's mental health, it was good for their bottom line.
He got in connection with people at Social Blade, and Social Blade was helping him create new content, so they started doing challenge videos. Now, I gave him a couple ideas for challenge videos because I was doing them at the time, but then they also gave him challenge video ideas, and they were filming him with very expensive cameras. These two people from Social Blade that we met once, and they wanted to take him and grow his channel because they said, we're from Social Blade, we can grow your channel. And they had to be in their like late 30s or early 40s. Two 40-year-olds filming them getting tased, filming these weird little challenge videos, and I think they wanted a part of his channel eventually. Like, we're gonna grow you, but we want to take a little piece.
Around this time, the public also began going after Bashur due to the increasing sexualization of his videos. He had always used Clara's looks in some capacity to get views, but after they got back together, it started ramping up to a large degree. Pretty much every one of his videos featured Clara in a bikini or showing excessive amounts of skin, and the contents of the videos weren't much different. Many saw this as blatantly exploitative behavior, made even worse given the fact that much of Bashur's audience was young children. While public opinion may have been turning on Bashur, his relationship with Clara seemed to be doing better than ever before, at least from an outsider's perspective. They were back living together and making videos, and it even came out that they had plans to get married. Despite the apparent success in his love life, Bashur's mental health did not seem to improve much over this time. He announced in July of 2015 that he would start taking medication to help both with his depression and anxiety disorders. Brandon also went on several Twitter rants over the following months, lamenting the loss of the people he once considered to be his friends who had turned on him, and how he felt he would never be able to clear his name of the accusations of pedophilia. Despite getting further and further from the original controversy and new developments constantly coming up in his favor, Bashur still seemed to be convinced that his life and career were destroyed beyond repair.
What has happened in the last couple days? Because you were happy, you had all this support. I don't get it.
Because what changed? I thought I could figure it out. I've got all this support. I've got all these people.
Exactly.
Dude, support does not give me ideas. Support does not give me content. Support does not sit me down in front of a computer and put the game in front of me or put the vlog in front of me.
I have a crazy idea. How about you just live stream, all right, and just talk to your fans. Just talk to them.
This all culminated in November of that same year when Bashur tweeted that he planned to check himself into a mental health facility. Keemstar reached out to confirm the legitimacy of the statement, to which Bashur responded angrily, blaming Keem for his destroyed reputation, which was a strange jab considering how much work Keem had done since originally breaking the story to paint Bashur in a positive light. Around this time, rumors were circling around that Bashur actually had plans to sue Keemstar, and the lawsuit was to be funded by a fellow YouTuber known as Futuristic Hub, an interesting man most well known for truly bizarre videos including Minecraft porn and other animations. His involvement in the story is confusing to say the least. In the beginning, he was one of the many people spreading the original pedophile allegations. However, somewhere along the way, his point of view shifted completely, with him defending Bashur and deeming Keem to be the true enemy. Futuristic Hub's motivations seemed to confuse even the people who knew him, and it's hard to tell exactly what he hoped to gain from all this. Regardless, this lawsuit didn't go anywhere, and Bashur disappeared from the internet for a little under a month. Bashur returned to YouTube again in December, posting simple, low-effort vlogs consisting of him and Clara just lying in bed. These weren't the only videos they were making, but fans were feeling a bit insulted by how little he seemed to care. However, the irritation over these vlogs was nothing compared to the outrage sparked by a video he posted later that week, in which he pranked Clara while in the shower by throwing flour on her. While the prank itself was clearly faked, the main issue people had with it was that Clara was nude for the entire runtime of the video. It was censored, of course, and Bashur had been sexualizing Clara for views for some time now, but many saw it as a step too far, especially considering Bashur's young audience. This backlash didn't seem to faze Bashur though, as he quickly went to the video's comments to say that he would release the uncensored version if his channel reached 10 million subscribers in 2016. Not only that, but the next day he sent out a tweet saying that he had received a number of offers for naked photos of Clara. He attached a link to his PayPal with the promise that anyone who paid him enough money would get her nudes. He didn't specify how much he was charging for them, simply stating, "We'll tell you when it's enough." It's worth noting that Clara was not an exploited victim in all this, as she was on Twitter backing up Bashur and cheering him on as he did this. Despite that, the shower video was quickly removed by YouTube after being flagged en masse. This new devil-may-care attitude for Bashur continued into July 15, 2016, when he appeared on on Drama Alert for yet another interview with Keemstar, even though he had recently blamed him for his mental problems. He immediately came off as more manic and unhinged than usual, even stating that he was feeling different. This wasn't helped by his claim that he had recently gone off his meds, choosing instead to self-medicate with marijuana. On the upside, Bashur claimed to be much more resilient to harassment and rumors now, brushing off statements that would have at one point sent him into an emotional frenzy. The subject of Bashur's use of Clara's body for views was brought up as well, which he predictably bragged about.
Is it bad that you're pimping out your girlfriend?
No, because that money that comes back, you know, pays for her too, so she loves it.
Okay. And then there's also, there was also a point where you did this prank where Clara was naked, right? And,
yes.
And you said that you would release the uncensored version if you reached, you know, 10 million
10
subscribers.
million subscribers in 2016. Go over to my channel right now and subscribe, and we will release an uncensored version of that video at 10 million subs.
But will you really do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for 10 million subs? Are you kidding? We'll release a sex tape.
Keem also touched on a video that Bashur had made a few days ago that was drawing more backlash. In this video, Bashur reacted to his original Freakout video, pretending as though he had never seen it before while eating popcorn. He made jokes at his own expense in the video, even asking multiple times if he was going to commit suicide. A lot of people were offended by this, seeing it as Bashur making light of a serious topic that he had helped start a discussion of in the first place. According to him, the point of the video was to reclaim his mental illness and show that he had moved past that dark stage of his life. He wanted to be a symbol for people going through similar struggles, stating that if he could get through it, anyone could. However, this positive can-do attitude for Bashur didn't seem to stick around for very long. Despite publicly making up with Sky Does Minecraft in February, who was one of the first people to disavow Brandon, in March he was right back to his old self. That month was when Bashur threatened on Twitter that he was going to quit YouTube, but walked back the statement almost instantly. If he was doing better before, he now seemed to be right back at where he started. After that, things mostly continued as usual for a while, with Brandon and Clara floating around the idea of starting a Patreon for her nudes. Things were getting out of control as alliances kept on changing along with their stories. Soon enough, a new bombshell would be dropped that would turn this case inside out.
Boys, this is how it's done, alright? Okay, this is the game plan. Alright, you get her in this private call, you record her saying this stuff, okay? Then, we come on and we do the interview, right? And I say something like, and you tell me the background, I'm saying, other than this text, do you have any proof? Like, do you have any real proof? I know she said this to you in a private Skype conversation, you know, smile for YouTube. But, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people out there that say, you know, that you're full of shit. There's going to be a lot of people out there saying that, you know, maybe you and Bashur made a deal behind the scenes.
On March 25th, 2016, Keemstar was interviewed by a fellow drama channel, Scarce, to discuss a recently leaked piece of audio that seemed to completely change the context of a lot of this story thus far. This audio was recorded directly before Keem's popular interview with Bashur that exposed Clara as a gold digger. In the clip, Keem can be heard planning out the video ahead of time with Bashur and Smile for YouTube, talking about exactly how things will go down. This made it clear that Bashur's reaction to the news had been entirely faked, as he is on record talking about all the over-the-top ways he could act. Even the infamous sodomy line was apparently decided beforehand.
Do you have any legitimate proof that she said this? I mean, these conversations can be forged, and then you interrupt me and you're just like...
Yes, sir, I do. I got a video. I got an audio right now.
Okay, give me the audio, and then we play it in the interview. Oh my god, it's over. Coming from Drama Alert.
And I'll even react. I'll even react like I've never heard it.
As for Keem's explanation, he said he wanted to help Bashur out and thought that the best way to do that would be to make the interview as dramatic as possible. Although Keem was not alone in this, as it seems Bashur was the one who included Smile for YouTube in the scheme.
And Bashur just starts freaking crying and he's upset, and then finally anger comes out of this guy who's just acting so sad, and he belts out, "At least in the end, I got to f her in."
That wasn't staged?
That was in the private Skype call, okay?
Oh, okay.
So I'm dying, Scarce. Like, my face is red because I'm trying not to laugh,
You know what I mean? Because this is really sensitive time. But like, I just couldn't hold it, and I just burst out laughing, right? And so then we start talking about like doing this interview and going over everything. And this Smile for YouTube guy is obsessed with freaking, you know, exposing Clara or whatever, because he's actually was trying to land a sponsorship deal with Basher, because Basher was a bigger pull. My main objective is to get the facts and get the news out to my audience. But it's also to make my show entertaining, right? So we come up with the idea that Basher is going to hear all this information for the first time, and that's basically how we faked it or staged it. But all the information in the actual video is real, just the reaction isn't, I guess, authentic. It is the same reaction he had in the private Skype call, but it's just reenacted, right?
According to Keem, despite Basher's reaction to it being staged, the audio of Clara accepting $1,000 to talk to him was still real. Keem was sure to stress that nothing said in the interview was a lie. He merely wanted to heighten the drama. Still, a lot of people took issue with this, saying that Keem's job was to report the news, not to be a showman. As for who leaked the audio, that was Smile for YouTube, as he had been hounding Basher and Keem for months to pay him in order to keep the secret, but with no success. However, Scarce was not the person Smile gave the audio to. In his video, Scarce did not link to the original source of the audio or even say the name of the person who had initially broken the story. If he had, many would have discovered a completely new angle that turned this entire controversy on its head. When I decided to start working on this project, I originally just planned for it to be a basic video chronicling the mental breakdown of one of Minecraft's biggest stars. But the deeper I looked into this, the less things added up. The timelines never made sense, and it seemed like the day-to-day dysfunction of Basher made people forget about the original accusations, and the validity of them. Through our research, we stumbled upon yet another side of the story that complicates things even more, while also at the same time having things make more sense. For me to explain this, let's rewind back a year. Around the same time Keemstar picked up this story in 2015, another small YouTuber by the name of Mr. Sif was also getting involved, but without a fraction of the attention of Drama Alert. Sif ran a channel called Camp Kill Commentary that mostly made videos about Call of Duty before finding himself doing some sleuthing into Basher's past. To be clear, all the information we are about to tell comes from our conversation with Mr. Sif, along with his uploads from 2016 on the subject, and screenshots he showed us corroborating his story and timeline. Whether you choose to believe what is about to be told is completely up to you. According to him, he started off knowing very little about the situation beyond Basher's arrest, and immediately spent a lot of time trolling Basher, replying to every one of his tweets and bringing up his record. He did this for a while until Basher finally reacted, lashing out and replying to Sif's tweets angrily. This is what really propelled him into the situation, as according to him, a number of people who had gotten to know Basher over the years began to reach out. A lot of these people were creators who wanted to talk in private about the various rumors and stories they'd heard about Basher. One person, however, stood out from the crowd and serves as one of the strangest loose ends in this entire story: Basher's ex-girlfriend.
Oh, it's the girl he lived with before he was ever an internet celebrity, I guess. And, yeah, I got to talk to her a lot. Actually paid her phone bill once just so she could continue talking to me. And she sent me a lot of pictures. A lot of stuff about Basher.
In Basher's tell-all video, he made it sound like after the incident where he had a run-in with the law, he was kind of a shut-in for a decade. That's at least how he made it sound before he got popular on YouTube. But you're basically saying that there was a whole other side of Basher that he did not let on to, where he had a live-in girlfriend and he had a life that was not just him sitting in his house playing video games all the time.
Oh, no, he didn't have a life. She was very clear that he was locked in a room alone all the time. Like, they basically had problems because she caught him talking to little girls. That was the big problem between them. She knows he's pretty sexually sick. And, like, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor.
Now before you ask, this woman was not Clara, nor was it the girl who Bashur said cheated on him back when he was a teenager. This was a different person entirely, someone who claimed to have been dating Bashur during his decade of isolation following his arrest, an era of his life that we previously knew nothing about. If you remember, in this confession video, Bashur said he had no contact with people other than his mother during this period of time, so needless to say, it's bizarre that he never before mentioned this girl's existence. According to her, the story about Bashur being a shut-in was completely true, as he rarely left his room for the entire time they were dating, putting quite a strain on their relationship. Not only that, but according to her, he was still messaging other girls on a frequent basis, which obviously didn't help matters either. At the time, she tried to simply write it off as one of his personality quirks. Sif also claimed that she said Bashur was both physically and sexually abusive towards her.
Yeah, I put some of the transcripts up where she said he has lots of, I put up a video where she's talking to the victim, because I got the victim, the young girl, to talk to the ex-girlfriend, and they just talked it out on Skype, and me and another YouTuber just watched, and it was pretty emotional. And they were just going back and forth about how the ex-girlfriend said she was physically abused and sexually abused, and the little girl said she was naive and ignorant, and those two girls talked to each other, the young girl and the ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend made it clear that that was his lifestyle. Like, he was a shut-in. He would sit there and talk on the computer all the time, and she would catch him all the time talking to girls, and she was aware that he liked underage girls and little girls and small girls. It's just accepted in their relationship, or not accepted, but, you know, it's like your girlfriend snores, so you're like, oh, I got a snoring girlfriend. That sucks. That's how she felt about him liking little girls, I guess. Right. And that girl was gonna come forward. I almost got her so close to coming forward, but Keemstar was posting shit, and then all the freaking maniac fans were like slandering this girl, and she was just so scared. Like, she said that she was afraid to come forward all these years because she thought Bashur would kill her. That she really thought he would.
Wow.
And like,
did she have any reason to believe that? Was there any threats made against her by Bashur?
Well, she knows he really likes violence. He really likes sexual violence. Like, he's just the stuff I was putting on the internet. This, oh, gross, dude, that he really typed that stuff.
To this day, both the ex-girlfriend and the other girl remain anonymous. Sif was also put in contact with several members of the Masons, the World of Warcraft clan that allegedly Bashur was a member of during his time as a shut-in. According to them, Bashur was sending sexually explicit emails to at least one woman in the group at the time, a claim that they did provide screenshots for, including one showing what they claimed to be his genitals. It's worth noting that this woman in particular was of legal age. When pressed about this, Bashur claimed to have never been a member of this clan and had no idea who they were, but several players have come forward to refute his denial.
Bashur, Brandon, he came into the guild as Hyperion, then Doomer.
Oh yeah, Hyperion.
The biggest dick I've ever met. I don't know, out of the 20-something people in the guild, anybody that would deal with him anymore, aside from the whole pedophile thing.
Yeah, you're right, man. I remember he'd get in a fight and he'd get kicked out, and then he'd somehow get back in.
Yeah,
that was his fault.
What can I say? I was friends with him for a long time. I mean, the dude's charming, you know. He was fun to be around, and then, well, turns out he's just a liar.
He used to post a picture of him in an NVIDIA t-shirt because he was an NVIDIA engineer for a while there. What else? His dad is a famous country star who was going to sue all of us. Oh yeah, he worked for Blizzard, quality control.
With all this evidence piling up, Sif was becoming a powerful force on the anti-Bashur front as he made several videos with his proof during the controversy being seen by thousands of people. As more and more sources began to come to Sif with their stories and evidence, he received a message from a surprising person, none other than Keemstar himself. Apparently Keem was a really big fan of his Bashur coverage, promising to make him rich and famous if he continued doing what he was doing. Sif was confused by this, as Keem didn't really specify how he planned on making good on that promise other than commenting on his videos, but he appreciated the gesture and counted Keem as a new ally. Sometime later, Sif received another message from Keem simply saying that he was going to call him over Skype and to be ready for it. When Sif answered, he discovered that Bashur and Clara were on the call as well.
So at this time, I'm like, yeah, me and Keemstar are gonna go on a Skype call and fight Bashur and Clara. So we get in the Skype call, and Keemstar's like, introduces us to each other, and I'm like, hey, what's up, Basher? And he's like, hey, man, what's up? And I'm like, hey, what's up? And Clara's like, hello, blah, blah. So Basher's like, look, man, I was thinking maybe we could just all drop this. We'll both publicly say we dropped this, and it's over. And then, you know, I'm sorry I said that on blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, we'll just end it right here kind of thing. And then Keemstar's like, so, what do you say? You guys are cool now? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, no, this guy's a pedophile. We're here to get him, you know? And then Keemstar's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, he's a pedophile and we're here to get him. And Basher just starts going, I am not a pedophile. And he starts like getting wild, a little wild, not flipping out totally yet, right? So I'm like, okay, settle down. Let's settle down. I don't know. I said some hot-headed things. I did. I said some things to Basher that was mean. He wasn't flipping out. So then I'm like, you're a sexual predator. I have all these transcripts that show that you have a sex addiction, like seriously out of control. And then Clara Babylegs, I remember it like yesterday, just goes, shows what you know. I have to beg him to have sex at least once a week. He's not a sexual addicted guy, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, Clara, how old are you? And then he went nuts. Like, I heard hitting the ground and stuff, and he was like, wah! And anytime I tried to talk from there, he was just yelling over me, like trying to stop my voice from happening by him screaming. And she's going, calm down, honey, calm down. And then Keemstar said, see what you did kind of thing. Like, oh, well, great. You know, I'm trying to bring you guys in here to make friends, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, make friends? I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Keemstar, you're the news. You're supposed to report on this shit. And he's like, your source is Futuristic Hub. Futuristic Hub is my enemy, and as long as that's your source, you're a fool. I'm gonna make a laughingstock out of you.
Well, he claimed that you kind of threw out a lot of the information because you scoffed it off as just being information from Futuristic Hub. So basically what I'm getting at is he claimed that because the information was coming from a source you didn't like, you tried to ignore some of the claims of Basher messaging other girls.
I don't even know how to respond to that because I didn't get any information from Futuristic Hub. And if I did, it had to have been something so little that I don't remember, you know?
At this point, it's important to talk a bit more about Mr. Sith's relationship with Futuristic Hub. He was one of the first creators who knew Basher to get in contact with him and share the evidence and stories that he had. It was him who provided Sif with an important piece of evidence, namely a video of another girl giving her Basher story. According to this girl, Basher had started messaging her over Facebook when she was just 13 years of age. Similar to True Wind Waker's story from earlier, he quickly asked to move their conversation over to Skype, which she agreed to since she was just excited to be talking to a famous YouTuber. Once there, Basher began to get very sexual, asking her for revealing photos and to get naked for him on camera. Thankfully, she refused and he quickly removed her from Facebook and blocked her. This girl did have some evidence to prove she was talking to Basher, and the fact that she quickly deleted the video when it started getting any amount of views makes it unlikely that she was just saying things for attention. Though to be clear, Basher denies her claims. Sif and Futuristic Hub began talking on the phone regularly, speaking for 3 hours a day for about 3 weeks straight. According to Mr. Sif, Futuristic Hub's behavior was erratic to say the least, quickly switching back and forth from calm to furious in a matter of minutes.
Alright, Futuristic Hub, he was manic. I don't know what word to use. He would be up, he'd be down. At 1 minute, he'd be totally zen, because I give people good advice to calm down, be balanced. And he'd be like, yeah, zen. And then he'd call me up like an hour after we talked and be like, that's it, I'm getting a gun, I'm going to kill somebody, I'm gonna f***ing murder somebody. And I'm like, whoa, man, we were just talking zen, remember? We're floating on a raft through Lake U.
It's obvious that Futuristic Hub hated Keemstar, as he said on at least one occasion that he wanted to kill him. But his feelings towards Basher were much less clear. In public, Futuristic Hub and Basher acted incredibly friendly, saying they loved each other like brothers. But in his conversations with Mr. Sif, Futuristic Hub apparently claimed to barely even know Basher, and that his outward persona was all for show. As I mentioned before, his motivations didn't make sense even to the people who knew him. According to Mr. Sif, he even at one point tried to get in touch with the FBI to investigate Basher, but to no avail.
So I call the FBI. I talk to them for like, hour and a half, and then they just took the whole story down, asked me questions like, oh, so this is this, and I'm like, yeah, and this is his name, I'm like, yeah, and you have this information, I'm like, yeah, and they're like, okay, thank you very much, and then they were gone. You know?
It's worth noting that in all of Drama Alert's coverage of the Bashur situation, Keem never once mentioned Mr. Sif in any of his videos, and instead of covering all of these new allegations in depth, Keem chose to focus on a different angle, and found new villains for the story. On March 26, 2016, Keemstar had an interview with Clara on Drama Alert to talk about an emotional twitlonger Bashur had made the night before. In it, Bashur revealed that the person who started the original rumor all that time ago that claimed he raped a 13-year-old was none other than Jobless Garrett. As the story goes, Skyda's Minecraft had given him the job to do a background check on Bashur for BAM Lounge, during which he found his arrest record. Garrett then called up the county clerk's office to confirm this, which is when they allegedly told him the now infamous rumor. Garrett then told this to the rest of the BAM Lounge members, which is what kicked off this entire saga. And the accusation that we now know probably isn't true about the 13-year-old girl being raped twice by him. It seems to always go back to Jobless Garrett being the one making that claim. Do you know anything behind the scenes of if he actually was told that by the police or if it was made up?
I have talked to him in real life, like at a face party about a year ago. And I confronted him about this, and he to this day still says that is what the police told him. And there's really no way to find out how old this girl is or was. But, you know, if he was arrested for it, I don't think she was like, you know, 16, 17. Yeah. She would have to be like someone young enough for the police to even get involved like that, you know?
Despite Mr. Sif's story about Bashur sending sexually suggestive messages to multiple underage girls, along with him previously being convicted of that same crime a decade prior, we have absolutely no proof that he ever made physical contact with them, so it's unclear why someone would come up with that story. Nevertheless, things quickly spiraled out of control from there, and it eventually led to the now infamous freakout. Clara then told her version of Bashur's removal from the BAM Lounge and her breakup with him. This time very differently than a few months prior. This time around, according to her, the BAM members were the manipulators, pressuring her into returning and trying to convince her that Bashur was a pedophile. She finally agreed and flew back to California with a plane ticket paid for by BAM Lounge member Aviator Gaming. When Clara returned, things started getting much worse. Another BAM Lounge member named Bertgasm, who had a girlfriend at the time, allegedly made repeated unwanted sexual advances towards Clara, frequently trying to console her and touching her inappropriately.
I'm sleeping on a cot in the same room, and this guy gets in my cot and is like cuddling up to me, trying to like hold me and be in my space. And it was really gross and uncomfortable. And I felt like had I allowed it, he would have made moves. He said it was at a party, totally not at a party. Like this dude walked up to our house, first time he's ever been there, just has his balls hanging out when I open the door. Like,
and it was directed at you, or was this a joke, or?
I don't know what it was, but it was completely inappropriate. He had never been to our house before, never been to Washington. I hardly knew him, and he had his balls out in front of me.
So, she accused you of showing your nutsack to her on 2 separate occasions and also trying to get in bed with her. Can you explain why, like, these very specific allegations against you came up?
Yes. I actually didn't even show her my nuts. It was when I was way back when I was meeting Bashur for the very first time on Skype. I jumped into a Skype group with a bunch of guys, and they were all acting like idiots and stuff. And one guy decided to show his nuts on camera, but he did it like really close up. Like you couldn't even see the nut. You just saw like the skin and maybe like a pube and a pube there. And they laughed, and then someone else turned their camera off, and then they showed theirs and they laughed, and then I showed mine, and all of us did it. Every one of the guys did it. So it was just like, ha ha ha. Okay. So then it moved on to me meeting him for the very first time in Seattle. He is answering the door. We actually texted him, hey, answer the door, just you. He answers the door, it's just him. So I had my balls out trying to make him laugh, and he's actually talking to me for a moment. And then he looks down and he's just like, "Oh, you got me." And I was just like, "Yeah." And he's just like, "That's from the Skype call, right?" And I'm like, "Yep." Yeah. And then in the bed thing, Basher's already gone home. Clara's come back, and she is now sleeping in the living room as I am. I'm sleeping on a couch, and she's sleeping on another couch. Well, she started crying, and I was just like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "You want to talk about it?" And I'm still in my bed at this time. Well, my couch, and she's on her couch as well. And she started crying, and she had like these little crystals, and she kept like kissing them. And I was just like, "Well, what's up with the crystals?" And she was like, "If you want to come over here, I'll show you my crystals." So I sat on her bed. She opened up her little bag of like crystals and stuff, and she says that she believes in the energy of crystals and how they can heal you. And she's like, "This one does this one does that." And I'm like, "That's cool." And she was just like, "Can you sit down and just talk to me for a little bit? Can you just lay down and let's talk for a little bit?" So I laid down beside her and we talked about crystals. That's as far as that story goes.
Clara claimed that both Garrett and Skyda's Minecraft were offering her and Basher $5,000 to keep quiet about their experience. But upon agreeing to take the money, Garrett then changed his mind and instead mocked them for being unable to pay their taxes. In retaliation, Basher began threatening to sue Garrett for telling the BAM Lounge that he raped a 13-year-old girl. Like all lawsuits surrounding the story, however, this does not seem to have gone anywhere. Following this interview, Basher went on another one of his famous Twitter rants, this time about Garrett, how he ruined his life, and how he feared Clara would leave him because of it. The next day, he went on Drama Alert for an interview where he had a similar sentiment, angrily blaming Garrett for everything that had gone wrong in his life.
We have lost over $900,000 worth of deals. And it's absolutely mind-blowing that so many companies are believing this. Part of making this a career is looking forward to your progression, seeing companies excited to work with you and do things with you, and your life becomes a lot better because you're entertaining more people and you're making more money, and that's called career progression. Well, that stopped the second Garrett did this. It just stopped outright. I haven't had a single offer for this or that in almost a year now. Well, it's absolutely fucking insane because they believe that I might be a pedophile.
Basher admitted that the real reason he began leaning so hard on using Clara's body for views was because he was worried his career was ruined beyond repair, and it was just a matter of time until it would be dead. So to put it simply, he was trying to milk as much money out of it as possible before it was over. While he did demand an apology from Garrett, Basher did start walking back his talk of a lawsuit against him. Keemstar, on the other hand, was encouraging Basher to pursue legal action. In fact, he was encouraging him to just take control of his life in general, telling him that if he got back into streaming, people would watch. Basher was hesitant, but after Keem offered him an undisclosed amount of money per week to do it, he quickly accepted.
I really believe people give you a second chance. In fact, I work out deals for people on streaming to stream, and I'll type it right now in the Skype conversation. I will give you this much a week to stream 10 hours on streaming. You just got to go back to work. Is that acceptable?
Serious?
Yeah. We'll pay you
this
that much.
This is legit. This isn't, Keemstar's gonna get you. Like,
no troll.
This isn't a fake.
No troll. You just got to get back to work.
Given their history, it's entirely possible that this interview was staged as well, but it does go to show what a strange journey Keem and Basher's relationship had gone through in just a year. In a matter of months, Basher would go from hating Keem to thanking him to threatening to sue him. In May of 2016, speculations began to stir that Basher and Clara might have been fighting. It all started when Clara posted a picture of her door on Twitter, with what appeared to be multiple sizable holes punched into it. Later that day, Basher tweeted that his fingers were hurting, many assuming the two incidents were related. Concern rose when Clara posted a picture of Basher's computer background, which was a picture of her with words and phrases such as "you can't have her" and "I will kill you" and "mine" written all over it. This was unsettling to say the least, but speculation hit a boiling point when Clara tweeted, "If I die in the next few weeks, you guys know who it is." Many people spoke up to voice their concerns about what was going on, the strangest among them being Onision, who tried to encourage Clara to break up with Basher, telling her that this was a toxic relationship. Clara refuted all rumors of domestic abuse, and Basher clarified that he punched the holes in in the door because of his continued anger at the pedophile accusations. Still, no matter what the reason he had for doing it, it was clear that Bashur was in a dangerously unstable state of mind that would only get worse. Bashur continued to emotionally deteriorate over the following year. He would lash out at anyone who dared to mention the allegations, most notably berating YouTube commentator Leafy's here for simply making a short joke about it in one of his videos. All of this finally hit a breaking point on April 24th, 2017, when Bashur completely blacked out his entire online presence, deleting all of his tweets and videos and disappearing without a trace. It became too much for him to handle. Mr. Sif credits himself for this, as he had been working on something of a sting operation with the help of Bashur's ex-girlfriend. Bashur had allegedly been flirting with her for a while, and Sif showed Clara their chat logs in an attempt to prove that Bashur was still willing to cheat on her. Whatever reasons Bashur had, this did successfully remove him from the public eye as all parties involved moved on with their lives. When looking into the lives of all the parties involved in this saga, you'll start to see that not only Bashur saw a downfall after the controversy. The BAM Lounge TV show never materialized and the channel slowly faded out of relevance despite attempts to bring it back. By now, most of the members involved with the now notorious YouTube collective have left and moved on, with many having their own mental troubles. Skyda's Minecraft, once one of the biggest creators on the entire platform, went on to change his name to Net Nobody and removed all his Minecraft videos and started a music career. He also had a messy breakup with the mother of his son that led to his name being dragged through the mud. Add to this a slew of breakdowns on camera, and it's clear that the past few years haven't been the easiest for him.
I am on social media, I'm trying to be social. It's my emotions. It's like my only personal thing.
Now under the name Sky Does Everything, he still does seem to make semi-frequent Minecraft uploads. Despite his channel having over 11 million subscribers, his videos these days often struggle to reach even 30,000 views. Aviator Gaming is in a somewhat similar position, although to a less extreme level. While he only has around 1 million subscribers, his videos only receive about 10,000 views apiece, and he hasn't posted anything to his main account in about 7 months. He went from 6 million views a month to 300,000 since Bashur's disappearance. Bertgasm changed his channel name to Bert Dude, possibly trying to distance himself from being known as the guy who made a roleplay video about a Minecraft school shooting.
Me too, but let's just try to keep it together, okay? I mean, that's honestly all we can do. Oh, God, come on, Sarah, into here, quick! Oh my God, Jack's here. Jack's back at school. Oh God.
After the fiasco, his views started to go downhill on YouTube, so he stepped away from the platform and got a regular job. These days, Bert lives in Texas with his girlfriend and her kid, and they just had their first child together. In the past 2 months, he's been talking about making a return to YouTube, with him even giving us an exact time frame for when the Minecraft roleplays were coming back. But as the release date came and went, he had to upload another video claiming that he couldn't do the roleplay because he took some flu medicine that made him mentally insane.
I had a mental breakdown, and because of that mental breakdown, I had to go to urgent care twice, and I had to go to the emergency room twice. I also am just grateful that I had friends and family that were there to support me in the time that I needed them, even though all I really wanted to do is die.
Just like the rest of them, Jobless Garrett's channel seems to be struggling. Despite sitting on over 1 million subscribers, many of his recent videos barely managed to reach even 10,000 viewers. The only big spike in views for him in the past few months was a video where he talks about his fiancée leaving him. Smile for YouTube had seemingly disappeared from the internet. The last we heard from him, he had turned on both Bashur and Keem shortly after the now infamous interview. He began swatting Keem and his mods frequently, although he later tried to claim that Keem was in fact the one swatting him. As for Bashur, Smile was reportedly trying to extort him out of $10,000, and if he didn't pay up, Smile threatened to murder him by sending a SWAT team to his house. Later, he found Bashur's mother's address and sent a SWAT team to her house on 4 occasions. Shortly after this, it appears he faded out of internet life. Futuristic Hub has had his fair share of trouble since Bashur as well. Most notably, he was involved in a lawsuit over his channel called Video Games, which is an entirely separate story for another day. To put it briefly, he was found to be in breach of contract regarding royalties owed to other contributors of the channel. The final fine came out to be a whopping $20 million, making it the largest YouTube-related lawsuit of all time. His own channel, however, is actually doing quite well, managing to pull in over 1 million views per video on a somewhat consistent basis, though a lot of that money might be going to pay that $20 million lawsuit. Mr. Sif quit YouTube around the same time Basher disappeared, stating that he felt completely disillusioned with the site after what he had experienced. He has recently returned, but these days he treats YouTube as more of a side hobby, choosing instead to devote the majority of his time to focus on his family and job. To this day, he remains one of the best documenters of the entire Basher saga, as he kept all of the evidence while most others have deleted theirs from the face of the internet. Clara Babylegs continued her internet career, trying to keep up a consistent live streaming schedule on Twitch. However, in March of 2017, her Twitch account was suspended when she wore a revealing cosplay on stream. After years of joking, this is finally where she took the plunge and joined a camgirl site, fully making the career switch into selling her body for money. When she first became a sex worker, she quickly rose through the ranks and became one of the top streamers on the cam sites, although her popularity seems to have waned over time. It's hard to tell how she's doing these days, as her YouTube channel is a ghost town and her Twitter is locked behind a $500 paywall. Interestingly, during his time away from the internet, people still were able to find Basher in the live chat of her streams, leaving sexual messages and seeming to get off on watching Clara perform for others. This finally brings us to Bashurverse. According to Keemstar, during his time away, Basher seems to have taken a job working at Best Buy to allow himself to leave the public eye. The only somewhat notable thing for him that happened online during his disappearance was when his Minecraft account was hacked and put up for auction in 2018, to which he remained silent. At that point, it seemed like he was gone for good. Finally though, on September 18th, 2019, Basher made his grand return to the internet under the name of Toasty, and got back into streaming video games right away. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like his time away did much to help his finances or mental health, as he seems like a shell of his former self in recent YouTube videos.
I have been in hell, absolute hell. I completely failed to cope with what had happened to me, and I lost everything. I'm losing everything. I'm literally in the midst of losing literally everything. This house that I'm in is about to go bye-bye. I have no idea where I'm going to be moving.
As the months continued to go on with his return to the internet, we also began seeing old habits pop back up when he started making a slew of depressed Twitter rants, at one point confirming that he and Clara had broken up during his hiatus. Strangely, in these tweets, he refers to her as his wife, but we can't find any records that they were actually married. Looking at his Twitter, he often goes from talks of suicide to an optimistic, hopeful outlook of the world in a matter of days. He recently left a message that sounded like a final statement to a cold, uncaring planet. After days of silence, people became worried that he may have actually ended his life, but he eventually came back saying that he checked himself into a mental hospital and was feeling better now. He also was planning to move to Australia with a group of his streamer friends for a fresh start, and that brings us to current day. After spending hundreds of hours researching the Bashurverse story, the only thing clear is that Brandon Asher is a troubled man. From his biological mother abandoning him as a child, the school placing him in with the undesirable students, the judicial system throwing him in the same courtroom as violent hardened criminals, the internet labeling him as a child rapist, and the love of his life Clara breaking things off, his struggles have led to outbursts witnessed by millions on the internet. In the end, we will probably never know for certain what all the facts are in this case. A lot of the evidence has been deleted from the internet, and there is no smoking gun that points to one specific thing being the truth. We'll never know for sure how many underage girls he had been in contact with throughout his adult life, and what exactly he has done with them. Throughout this whole saga, it feels like things were manipulated behind the scenes, but to whose benefit? The only thing that can be said for certain is that everyone involved in this mess has come out in a worse place than they started, be that financially or mentally. All except one, that is.
Listen, Basher, I got you to talk about me and to let your audience know about my existence for months. So many people know about this subject and my point of view of it than ever before. because I got you to react to me. And I got you to play victim to me. And I got you to pander to your audience. This whole forget him and ignore him would have worked if you would have done it right away. But now that you haven't, I got your fans' attention. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Is that you thought you were a fucking genius manipulator. But someone's better than you.
Yeah.
Start recording here. So how's it going, Basher?
I mean, pretty good.